How many albums do you buy per year? Too many. What entertainment equipment do you own? Phonograph, CD player, cassette player, laserdisc player, VCR. This is my kind of registration card. This is speaking my language. This registration card, of course, came with the subject of today's video, 1993's 30 Years of Good Vibrations, The Beach Boys box set. This isn't the first box set the Beach Boys ever released. That would be the big cassette collection for the 25th anniversary. And there are album bundles like Carl and the Passions packed with Pet Sounds or Beach Boys Deluxe that even predate that. But this is a very, very fascinating set. And even today, 30 years on, it remains popular and beloved by the Beach Boys fan community. So I thought today we'd talk a little bit about why that was and go through some of the stuff in this set. There is too much here to unpack. I could make a series of videos and still not cover everything. But I thought, well, let's look at some of the highlights, some of the oddities and stuff, because believe it or not, there are still songs that are unique to this release that have never been released elsewhere. So you might think, well, why are we listening to this set now 30 years later? Shouldn't we be listening to something like Made in California, the group's 50th anniversary set? But actually, Made in California was met with a tepid reception. It's not really loved by the Beach Boys fan community. A lot of people left, kind of mixed or critical reviews. This went gold. This did not. This still has a big fan following. You can still find used copies and they still sell. This one, not as much. So we're going to see today, maybe come up with some theories why this is beloved and Made in California, which we'll do a video on next month to celebrate its anniversary, isn't quite as well liked or well remembered. So this box set today came with a few things, notably 5 CDs. We'll get to those in good time. You could also get it in cassette form. I don't have any of the cassettes. Someday maybe I'll be able to hunt those down. If you bought it in Europe, you got the 6th bonus disc, which I've been looking for and never found. Maybe someday. Got some interesting songs on there. Came with a cool decal, which I've never used. This is one of those decals that's like water transfer. You like dip it in water and you can apply it to wood or to glass or to metal. I just hang this on one of my Beach Boys collages just the way it is. I don't want to use it up. It's the only one I got. I like that logo though. I wish they'd kind of bring that logo back. Lots of directions. I'll show you those again. And besides the decal, the box, and the CDs, we also got a book. So let's talk about the book real quick, because it's actually really interesting. There are a few things about it that have aged badly, but for the most part, it's pretty cool. So the book features a foreword by Brian Wilson. It's a really nice quality there. There's the foreword for you. Foreword by Brian Wilson, and then it is written by David Leaf. David Leaf, of course, has done all kinds of Beach Boys publications. He's a Beach Boys expert, knows all about it there. And there are like interview quotes. I'll just show you a few pages here and there. Interview quotes here and there from the group. Someone's driving by. Sorry about that. And very interesting stuff. At least some of these were, unique to this release. I'll yell at that guy. We're filming here. We got stuff to do. Pretty cool. There are a couple things about it that I'm not a huge fan of. Some of the songs they excerpt, like for these large quotes, are not included in the set. Like there's an excerpt from In the Back of My Mind. That's not in it. An excerpt from I'd Love Just Once to See You. That's not in it. There's also a teaser at the end for a Beach Boys soundtrack compilation box set. They mention like It's a Beautiful Day from Americathon, the Problem Child single and all that. Oh, we have a collection coming soon with just soundtrack songs. Well, as far as I know, that never happened. So that's kind of a bummer. But all told, pretty nice, very detailed liner notes there. So, book's neat. I like it. So, there's a couple instances we'll reference it later on too, a couple little mistakes or things. I would never be critical of Mr. Leaf because I know he knows more about the Beach Boys than I ever will. But at the same time, a few things that maybe in the light of new information kind of changed what he wrote. And we'll talk about those later. So, released in late July of 1993, so we're celebrating its 30th anniversary. I didn't buy this in 1993. I was only a small child. I wasn't in the Beach Boys yet. I bought this like 10, 15 years ago on Amazon. Let's go ahead and kind of hit each CD, and we'll talk about some of the highlights and stuff. Start with disc 1, which has the Surfer Girl on the cover. I'll read off the track list real quick, but I do want to show you each of these CDs. Doesn't really have a booklet, but it has like more detailed liner notes. It has like chart positions, what album things are on, that kind of stuff. No write-up really, but enough information that, you know, oh, okay, if I had this LP, then I would have this song, that kind of thing. And this set does a good job of being very diverse, including a lot of different stuff. And most of the CDs use kind of the capital swirl there, and each of a picture kind of indicative of the group at the time. Our first disc, the quote is, "Do you love me? Do you, Surfer Girl?" And we have Surfin' USA demo, Little Surfer Girl demo, Surfin' Rehearsal, Surfin', Their Hearts Were Full of Spring demo, this is the 1963 version, Surfin' Safari 409, Punchline, Surfin' USA, Shutdown, Surfer Girl, Little Deuce Coupe, In My Room, Catch a Wave, The Surfer Moon, Be True to Your School, Spirit of America, Little Saint Nick, specifies it as the single version, The Things We Did Last Summer, Fun Fun Fun, Don't Worry Baby, Why Do Fools Fall in Love, The Warmth of the Sun, I Get Around, All Summer Long, Little Honda, Wendy, Don't Back Down, Do You Want to Dance, When I Grew Up to Be a Man, Dance, 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 Please Let Me Wonder, She Knows Me Too Well, radio station jingles. There are 4 separate radio ads condensed into one about minute-long track. 2 of the radio jingles, the KYA and Murray the K ones, are available on other sets like Made in California. And the other ones, the Millstream preview where they sing Down by the Old Millstream, that one's unique to this set. And the Millstream concert promo, Down by the Old Millstream at the Beach Boys show, that one was re-edited for use in Made in California. So most of those you can find elsewhere. And we wrap it up with concert promo / Hushabye, a live version from Beach Boys concert. And then there's a hidden track of Brian Wilson singing Happy Birthday for a Freshman. That hidden track would pop up as a proper delineated track on Hawthorne, California there. So even though it's not listed here, you know, if you don't have this set, you can still find it. It's very short. So a couple interesting things. The Little Surfer Girl demo has never been released elsewhere. It's a very small, just a fragment, and it doesn't really sound like Surfer Girl. If you have Becoming the Beach Boys or one of those sets, it's not the same recording. Things We Did Last Summer, the book is kind of an error here. It says that this was recorded for a movie and then planned for use on the Beach Boys Christmas album. This is actually the recording from their 1963 Red Skelton Show appearance. They did Surfin' USA first, Things We Did Last Summer second. I really like Things We Did Last Summer. As far as I know, it remains exclusive to this set. It was done like for the adults in the audience. Surfin' USA for the kids, Things We Did Last Summer for the grown-ups. You know, it's kind of a front-loaded set because remember a lot of the Beach Boys hits were from this time period. This is 1961 to 65. So, you know, it doesn't cover a huge breadth of material, but you've got a lot of the major hits and a few cool, interesting things like Spirit of America here too. This version of Their Hearts Were Full of Spring can be found on Made in California. Not to be confused with the Laid in Hawaii version that has like the wordless vocal intro. So a pretty interesting set, or start to the set all told. Got a lot of those early hits and stuff we don't see too much like the Surfer Moon. Pretty cool. Not in perfect chronological order, but close enough too. They flip-flop a few things like Dance, Dance, Dance and Do You Want to Dance. But all told, I think it works. Disc number 2. We're going from 1965 to 1967. You might recognize this image from my video on 20 More Good Vibrations. They reused the Flying Heart. They must have really liked that on the cassette and the CD. I don't know. Quote on the back, I don't know where, but she sends me there. So a line from Good Vibrations. Real quick, I'll show you the disc and a picture of the little Honda. Disc 2 was the disc that sold this set because we had, really for the first time, quite a bit of material from Smile. Today, of course, Smile, we have a giant box set. We have this 2-record set. We have this little 2-CD set, and I was going to lug the big box set up here, but I didn't have room on my table, so we'll talk about that another day, because there's a lot to unpack there. But at the time, this was the definitive thing to have Smile tracks on. Virtually nothing had been officially released from it. everything on this disc nowadays has been released elsewhere, thanks to Pet Sounds box sets, the Smile box set, that kind of stuff. There's nothing here that's completely original. There are some editing differences, we'll talk about that in a moment. But on disc 2, we have California Girls, Help Me Rhonda, Then I Kissed Her, And Your Dream Comes True, Little Girl I Once Knew, Barbara Ann, Ruby Baby, KOMA Radio Spot, Sloop John B, Wouldn't It Be Nice, You Still Believe in Me, God Only Knows, Hang On to Your Ego, I Just Wasn't Made for These Times, Pet Sounds, Caroline No, Good Vibrations, Our Prayer, Heroes and Villains. Heroes and Villains sections, this is like a series of edited pieces from the recording of Heroes and Villains. The Smile box set has, long sessions. This is kind of like a highlight reel of that, so if you want just like real quick different versions of Wild Honey, or Heroes and Villains, excuse me, we're not to Wild Honey yet, this would be the disc for you. Wonderful, Cabinescence, the 2020 version, the liner notes specify that, not the original Smile stuff. Wind Chimes, Heroes and Villains Intro, also known as Fire, or The Elements, or Mrs. O'Leary's Cow, I don't know why it's called Intro here. Do You Like Worms, Vegetables, I Love to Say Dada, Surf's Up, and With Me Tonight. So, pretty interesting set. So, a lot of these outtakes, like Hang On to Your Ego, we've seen a lot of different Pet Sounds releases. I actually even think that was probably available, or at least in a similar mix. Like here's an old Pet Sounds CD, and that has Hang On to Your Ego on it. So, I don't know. Ruby Baby, of course, Beach Boys Party, Uncovered, released a couple takes of that kind of thing. We have a lot of Pet Sounds stuff, over half the album here. And then all the Smile stuff you can find on, various Smile releases. So there's really not a lot to say about it today, but in 1993, having, over half an hour of Smile material, mostly original Smile material, like I said, Cabinescence being the exception, pretty darn interesting. Alright, moving on. Disc number 3. 1967 to 1971. So, much like the same way those Pet Sounds and Smile releases kind of weakened the effect of the second disc, one guess about this disc, of course, Feel Flows takes care of all those early 70s tracks there, and then like Sunshine Tomorrow would kind of cover some of the Wild Honey material and Smiley Smile material. So this disc here has the Exploding Orange on it. We've talked about the Exploding Orange before. It's used on the cassette and CD for 20 Good Vibrations. It shows up better on the CD, but you get the idea down in the corner there. On this CD we have Heroes and Villains, the actual single version. Darlin', Wild Honey, Let the Wind Blow, Can't Wait Too Long, Cool Cool Water, Meant for You, Friends, Little Bird, Busy Doing Nothing, Do It Again, I Can Hear Music, I Went to Sleep, Time to Get Alone, Breakaway, Cotton Fields, the single version, San Miguel, Games Two Can Play, also known as Two Can Play, that was the title used on Feel Flows, I Just Got My Pay, This Whole World, Add Some Music to Your Day, here just called Add Some Music. Forever, Our Sweet Love, H.E.L.P. Is on the Way, 4th of July, Long Promise Road, Disney Girls, Surf's Up Until I Die. The quote on the back of the case says, In an ocean or in a glass, cool water is such a gas. And that brings us to kind of one of the weird things about this disc, because again, most of this stuff today you can find very easily elsewhere with Feel Flows and the Wild Honey archival stuff. But this mix of Cool Cool Water doesn't actually include that line. There are a lot of versions of Cool Cool Water, dating all the way back to Smile, a version for Wild Honey, the 5-minute version on Sunflower, the single version. One of those songs, there's just too many mixes. But here we have a 1-minute version, which I think is exclusive to this. If not, it's certainly one of the rarer ones, but it doesn't actually use that quote. I'm not sure why they put it on here if the mix they included doesn't feature it. Probably the big draw nowadays, don't fall over them, big draw nowadays is Can't Wait Too Long. Can't Wait Too Long is fascinating because it's an unfinished Beach Boys song, but there was a lot of stuff recorded for it. And you can find many different releases. I'll show you, without knocking too much over, very quickly. It wasn't the first time that stuff from Can't Wait Too Long had been released. Here's the Smiley Smile twofer, that has some stuff on it there. And people on YouTube have actually gone and edited the fragments that remain together to make their own versions of the song, because it was never finished. There's no real right or wrong way to do it, and you can find material from it on a lot of different releases. This is about 3.5 minutes. It has both lyrics and instrumental pieces. This was redone for last year's Sounds of Summer bit. It got kind of a new mix, a new edit. And, you know, it's a pretty good version of the Can't Wait Too Long song. Or some people just say it's more like a collage than it is like a song. So, pretty interesting stuff. That's really the big draw, I think, from our exploding orange friend here. Alright, you can sit there. Let's get to disc 4 now. 1972/73 to 1988. So we end the set with Kokomo. Nothing from Summer in Paradise. That was probably a little too new. If you ordered this through television, you could get a free copy of Summer in Paradise, though. Someday I'll release my Summer in Paradise video because I have a lot to say about that, but that will be a story for another day. Quote on the back says, "She'd be so right to hold me tonight from The Night Was So Young." And a picture on the inside there. You get a nice group photo of the group. Or, yeah, nice group photo of the group. That's nice grammar. Good photo of the group there from a later date. So we have Sail on Sailor, California, aka California Saga, just the California part. The Trader, Funky Pretty, Fairy Tale Music, You Need a Mess of Help to Stand Alone, Marcella, All This Is That, Rock and Roll Music, It's Okay, Had to Phone Ya, that same song, It's Over Now, Still I Dream of It, Let Us Go On This Way, The Night Was So Young, I'll Bet He's Nice, Airplane, Come Go With Me, Our Team, Baby Blue, Good Timin', Goin' On, Get You Back, and finally, Kokomo. So this is actually, I think, the most interesting CD, barring a few bits of weirdness. For example, the booklet inside claims You Need a Mess of Help to Stand Alone was never released. We know that's not true. For some reason, the Holland stuff is before the Carl and the Passion stuff. That's why I said 72/73, because the 73 stuff is first, for whatever reason. Kind of strange. There are a few big draws. Fairy Tale Music. This was re-edited and re-released last year for Sail on Sailor. The re-edit takes most of the Beach Boys vocals out. This version keeps most of them. All the narration's gone. But if you want to hear, you know, Pied Piper, you better get back in bed. This is the release that keeps most of those. The re-edit takes them out. Still some of the vocals, but not many. We also have a lot of album mixes, like Rock and Roll Music and It's Okay. It's Over Now was newly released here. It got a remix when it was re-released on Made in California, but if you want to hear the original mix, you need this. Still I Dream of It, that got a re-release on a Brian Wilson album. I just wasn't made for these times. But this is the studio version that was a demo, so the studio version remains exclusive to this release. And Our Team from 1978 has never been released elsewhere, at least not that I'm aware of. So it's cool to have like an MIU era outtake, and I kind of wish they'd done more with that. You know, one of the big criticisms, and really one of the few criticisms for this album, is that they didn't do much with the 80s, or even with the late 70s, which is a shame. But again, you figure, besides Kokomo and Get You Back, there really aren't many major hits from that point. So, Made in California Dreamin', probably a little too new yet, but pretty cool. And then the last bit, hopefully you're hanging with me here. I talk for a living, so this is a piece of cake, maybe, is the bonus disc. And this is kind of weird, and I'm not sure exactly how I feel about some of this stuff, because it's just so bizarre, but different kind of CD. We don't get the swirl, instead we get like a session tape kind of CD. This disc doesn't have a case even, it has a cardboard sleeve, and on the back it actually has its own set of liner notes. That this is for the die-hard fans. This disc is all sessions, you know, production stuff, basically. So we have an interesting track list here. We have In My Room demo, a radio promo, I Get Around backing track, another radio promo, Dance 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 sessions, Hang On To Your Ego sessions, God Only Knows sessions, Good Vibrations sessions, Heroes and Villains backing track, only a piece of it I might add, Cabanescence backing track, Surf's Up backing track, another radio promo. Then we have all summer long Wendy, Hushabye, When I Grew Up to Be a Man, and Wouldn't It Be Nice in a 2-channel mix. So you adjust the balance on your stereo and you can hear all vocals or all instruments or anything in between. It's very strange. I actually find it works best in my car than anywhere else. I can turn the balance knob and I can move it around. You can even change it while you listen. So if you want to go from, you know, just hearing the instruments to just hearing the vocals, you can do that with just the turn of a dial. But It's a very odd thing, and it's not practical if you don't know how to change the balance, or you can't change the balance on your, stereo or whatever listening device you're using, then you really can't take advantage of this, and I don't know, it's kind of weird. We have an acapella California Girls, that's my favorite thing on this disc. Another radio promo, 3 outtakes from the Sacramento concert 1964, Surfin' USA, Surfer Girl, and Be True to Your School. Very interesting, and there's a little bit of like banter and intro stuff in there too. We have Good Vibrations live at the University of Michigan. I made a whole video about that digital release. And then we have Surfer Girl, Laid in Hawaii, studio version. So this is like it's kind of a strange set. A lot of these tracks, or pieces of some of these tracks, found their way to 1998's Perfect Harmony. They used a lot of the vocals only, or like heavier vocals versions on this release to show the group's harmony, and they also use the In My Room demo. They actually call them vocals up versions, which is kind of weird, but pretty cool. All the live stuff has been released thanks to the digital compilations there. And the session stuff, the Good Vibrations sessions is kind of weird because it has the backing track, sessions, and it also has an alternate take all lumped together into one big track. I talk more about this in my 1 Foot of Fun 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 video about 12-inch singles. The Pet Sound stuff and the Smile stuff has been released since. 2 of the radio spots, I believe, are completely unique. Let me double check that. Yes, they are. But all the sessions have been released elsewhere. It's a cool little cap to the set too, but I almost feel like it kind of kills the momentum in a way. I don't know. I have mixed feelings on this. It's certainly the CD that of the 5 I listen to the least. But, it's got some interesting stuff. Again, maybe not as relevant today as it was in 1993. Alright, and that will take care of the Good Vibrations review. So what do you think? I think just, with so much material and a pretty good balance anyway, that this set remains popular just because it's a good way to introduce people to the group and you're not really missing anything important. Made in California kind of is a little more selective and skips around a little bit more, so this might be a better place, especially for someone who's just getting into the group, to start. What do you think? Do you have this set? If you have any thoughts on it, please do leave them below. Join me next week for a review of Al Jardine in concert and also Mike and Bruce in concert. We'll see you then. Go out there and catch a wave.